Man who's one of the most famous names in the wine industry. He owns the biggest winemaking plant in Australia. It was in Belfast recently, and I went along to help taste some of his latest wine. Great day it was too, what I can remember of it anyway. Here is Brian McGuigan. Okay, so we're here in the Northern Wig with one of the world's greatest winemakers, Brian McGuigan. Hi Brian, how are you?
Robin, it's great to talk to you.
Great stuff. So you're from Australia, but I do believe, as I will start off with this, you have some Irish ancestry, don't you?
Well, fortunately I do, yes. My forebears came from Monaghan. They came to Australia, in fact five McGuigan brothers came to Australia during the 1850s and settled there, and it was my grandfather who actually started in the wine industry, and he was a viticulturalist. He grew grapes, and then my dad then went on to make wine and grow grapes, and then so I got, the wine in my blood, Robin, and so I then continued on where he left off, and so I've now built a wine company together with my wife and my daughter, and so we're very proud of our Irish history and background, and our commitment, and I think our excitement comes from a lot of that Irish blood, because there's passion in there within the Irish people, and I find it always very good to come back to Ireland and see my friend Jim O'Kane, who distributes my product here, and I feel as though I'm coming home, you know.
Yes, yeah. And of course, the other good thing as well is the big drinking culture in Ireland as well. We love a good glass of wine, don't we?
I'll thank God for the Irish. We love it too, and to sell the product here is just a great thrill. But, the UK and Ireland consume a lot of Australian wine, and we're very pleased about that. That was not the case, Robin. But our products emerged sort of in the 80s. Australian wine came out in the 80s, grew during the 90s, and have continued to grow all over the last 15 to 20 years. And we've seen tremendous growth in the export of Australian wines. And after all, we as Australian winemakers, Robin, need to export our product because we're only a small nation. After all, the whole Australian country is only just under 20 million people, and so our capacity to grow good wine is pretty much unlimited, and so therefore we need to explore all the opportunities that exist around the world, and particularly in those parts of the world that are part of our Australian heritage.
So you're leading the way in Australia, but is it competitive in Australia? Are there other companies now coming up and producing wine?
Oh, very aggressive, and I think that Australian companies are successful against one another. But the real test is, are you successful in the world? Because we're in the world of wine. We're in a world economy now. Globalisation is with us, and therefore we've got to kick the tail of the French and the Italians and the Germans, and I think we do that very ably, and I'm sure your viewers will agree that we've had great success in delivering something that's unique about Australia. And the thing that is unique about Australia is that we've got the sunshine. Grapes love sunshine, and the wine you make from grapes that are grown in sunshine deliver lots of flavour, and people want taste. People want taste. People want a mouthful of flavour. They want it to be fulfilling. They want the reds to be plummy and easy drinking, and that comes from the temperature and the environment in which the grapes are grown. After all, the winemaker's only the guardian of the process. He really he converts what God gives him, what nature gives him, into a product. But if he doesn't get the right raw material, there's no way he can make outstanding wine. But that's the feature of Australian viticulture, and that's why we've been able to be very successful around the globe.
So what kind of things do you look for in a good wine? Are you a fan of both red and white?
Well, I love all wine. Well, if you didn't love it, you know, I'm fortunate in my life to be a round peg in a round hole. So I love the product, and I regard what I do as my life, not my work.
Right.
But I think that what I need to interpret, so I'm a little like a musician or a poet, and that is that what you've got to do is to give people something that at this time in their life turns them on and answers the call of what they want. And so it's my job to understand what they're looking for, to seek that out, to understand it, and then reflect it in the way in which we make the product that we deliver to them under the call.
Right.
And so that's the job. But that's fun. That's what makes it really fun, because you can change the product to add to it in certain ways that make it more appealing as you see your consumer changing from one particular style to another.
You were telling me earlier on about some new products that you brought across to Belfast with you today.
Yes, well, you know, Australian wine is well established. We're well established for wholesome, big wines. But now what we're doing is to move on. We're understanding that people are looking to drink more refreshing wine, more floral white wine, and more plummy red wine. And so we're working through that and delivering wines that are less wooded, more flavoursome, crisper, more refreshing, can I say. But then with red wine to be easier drinking, less tannic, less wooded, more homogeneous. And so by delivering these newer styles out of Australia, we created an impact back when we started to sell wine here, because we were big and bold and boisterous. But now we're becoming more and more refined, so that we're interpreting that our Irish consumer is looking for something that's more delicate and more interesting and more plummy. And that's just what we're doing. And so today, with all this noise behind you, you'd understand that we are showing these people today some of the new innovations that we are pursuing to make sure that we are appropriate for the market into which we're delivering.
Of course, your wine as well, it's good affordable prices, isn't it?
Well, price is also an issue. Not only do you have to have the wine right and packaged right, but you have to have the wine so that people can afford to drink it day by day. And that's basic, in my view. All very well to charge these fancy prices, but we're about giving people, everyday people, a product that they really enjoy and can afford, and they perceive to be real value. And so we're very conscious of the fact that we must give price and value for that price. Of course, we've got more expensive wines.
What's your most expensive?
Well, our most expensive product is, well, in English pounds would be about £18. But that, of course, is a tiny section of the market. The real value products are down around £5, £6, £7. That's where the value can be found. But that's where we need to compete. That's where Australia can compete, and that's where we can deliver, I think, great perceived value. And after all, at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
All right, finally, Brian, we see the wine experts on TV and stuff testing wine. Is there a particular way you should test wine if you're a proper wine expert?
Don't worry about being an expert. What you've got to worry about is what pleases you. What turns me on? What turns me on? So you pick it up and you smell it. Does that smell nice? And do I get a nice warm feeling? And then taste it. Is it wholesome? Is that complementary to the food that I'm eating? And if that's the case, then that's the wine for you.
Okay, great stuff. Brian, it's been good meeting you.
Great.
Cheers.
Great to meet you, Robert. And great to see you. All the best.
Cheers, Brian.